money out for all you've done to your bodies. It's still real to me, damn it. I mean.
And we're back for the season premiere of It's Still Real to Me. I'm your host, Howie Chaney, along with QB1 Randy Cunningham and the 44th Double J, Jeremy Johnson. Guys, it's been a while since we've been able to be on here. How's everybody doing?
I think I got COVID. Besides that, I'm feeling good.
Hey, I hope it's not contagious through the airwaves.
Hey, I've been in 102,000 people the last 2 weeks in a row. If I don't have the flu or a cold or something, I'm doing something wrong.
It's bound to happen, right? It's bound to happen. Hey, none of my sports teams can seem to win a game. And Alabama Crimson Tide, I'm doing great.
Yeah, Randy's.
I was going to wear my UTC hat, so I'll just go ahead and throw my Tennessee hat on if I need to.
It's all right.
Hey, guys, we got a special guest that's going to be joining us here shortly. Cabana Man Dan from New South Wrestling.
Well, I tell you what, right here's a special shout out to us.
Hey,
man, while we're on the subject, go to Pat's Facebook and buy yourself a daggone copy of the Pat Rose autobiography. It's new out, and we appreciate Pat watching us right now, and we love Pat. And of course, hey y'all, Mr. Ty Rose is coming, and he's grew him a gimmick. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But go ahead, Howie. We got a real special guest tonight.
Yeah, like I said a little bit earlier, Cabana Man Dan from New South Pro Wrestling. They're going to be on here shortly. Listed in the PWI top 500 wrestlers in the world, not just the States, but in the world. What an accomplishment by that man right there. A great indie wrestler. I saw him multiple times in the Fort Payne area. But I don't want to get too much into it right now, but anyway, he's going to be joining us here in about maybe 10 minutes or less. But until then, let's try to catch up on a few things on our season debut of the It's Still Real to Me. Let's go ahead and get everything out there, guys. For the people that don't know us, all three of us is connected with some type of football games on Friday night, some types on Thursday night, some on Saturday, and some on Sundays. So to say that
we do shows on Monday and Tuesday.
And so to say that we're pretty busy.
What's up, Rocky?
To say we're pretty busy is an understatement. So we kind of took a little time off right now for a couple months, but some of our seasons are winding down. Some of our seasons are just kind of getting started, but we won't talk about that from last Saturday. But anyway, we're here to talk about wrestling tonight, and the big news coming up is a lot of changes that's fixing to take place in wrestling as far as shows moving from one channel or one station to another station and all that. And it's going to affect a lot of people. Randy, with Raw moving to Netflix at the first of the year, SmackDown is on USA, NXT is on CW. How's that going to affect WWE? And do you think the viewership is going to stay the same or go up or go down?
I don't have Netflix, and I don't plan on buying Netflix. I have about 3 streaming services. By the way, appreciate it, Rocky. We are a hardworking team. It's hard for me to justify. I have Dish Network. I have access to Amazon Prime through my account. I have access to the WWE Network. I have I can never remember how
the Peacock.
And I have one more. I cannot see myself buying Netflix unless I cancel something else. I just don't see. I think Raw on Netflix is a bad deal. That being said, they got a ton of money, and what is wrestling about? Making money.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some guys like me, and Rocky just said he don't have Netflix either. There'll be a lot of people like that don't have. Man, it's just hard for me to justify it. It's just hard. If it happened to be something I already have, it would be different. If it went to Peacock, where other programming is, it wouldn't be as bad. But it just tough times out there in the economy right now. And one more prescription might be nuts for me.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy.
Well, for me, I mean, I do have Netflix. I don't watch a lot of TV per se, like your normal network. But I think here's what's going to happen. I don't think initially they did get a ton of money. I think viewership's going to go down for the reason that Randall just said. It's going to be incumbent on them. I mean, I think we all agree that SmackDown put a better product on the air than Monday Night Raw did.
Hey, still got the bloodline coming in.
Yeah. So it's going to be, to me, it's going to be incumbent on the WWE and specifically Monday Night Raw or Raw to have a product that people will be willing to pay that for. And to me, that's not just in ring, that's storyline, that's a lot of things. And so, you make me want to subscribe to watch it. Make me want to subscribe to watch it. I guess would be my main thing. I already have it. I watch other things, other shows. And, if I have to choose, I'm probably going to stay with Netflix. I've got a subscription to YouTube TV that I'll probably, once football season is over with, college football, I'll probably turn it off. And which means that I won't be watching SmackDown unless it's a replay of some kind.
Here's my thoughts on it. I record all the wrestling where I can go back and watch it when I have time. Unfortunately, with the Netflix, you won't be able to do that. So that's going to hurt me as far as, and I don't even know if I have Netflix. I'll be honest with you guys. We got so many streaming services here between me and the girls. I don't know if we've got it or not. So if we don't have it, then I won't be watching Raw. That's all I can say.
And by far the best storyline in the world of, let's call it major company wrestling right now, which includes, the 3 or 4 on free TV or paid TV services, it's still the bloodline, and it's still Roman Reigns and his journey. And if that majorly plays out on Netflix, I don't know how it would affect premium live events. I still want to call them pay-per-view.
Yeah, Rocky Shaw, that's not it, buddy. It's just a mere fact of I've got a daughter that's in college and she gets a lot of free subscriptions, so I really don't know if we got it or not. I know I can guarantee you I'm not paying for it. I tell you that much.
Hey, you got to get a kid in college to get all the streaming services nowadays.
Absolutely. So, another big deal with the TV wise, it's AEW. They signed their new deal with Warner Brothers, WB, staying where they're staying at, doing away with one show, but add something else later on. So, hey, congratulations to them. I'm glad that we've got more wrestling to be able to watch. I'm hoping that out of this deal that eventually they'll be able to get Ring of Honor on a TV where I can see it as well. I know it's on the internet, but like I say, I like to record the stuff. I like to fast forward through the commercials. I'm just at that point where I don't have the patience to watch commercials no more. Let's just be honest with it. So, Jeremy, I'll start with you this time. AEW and their new deal. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, it's good. It's good for a wrestling fan because that still gives you those options for Wednesday night, for Friday, and even Saturday. And I don't know what changes they're going to make for per se. I'm sure Rampage is gone because it's not very good. Look, I don't care that it could be on every night of the week until they start putting together more cohesive stories. I I don't get too excited about it.
Rampage was shotgun Saturday night,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm kind of glad it's gone. I would take $1 million for Ring of Honor to replace it, and you
Yeah.
keep it Honor separate from AEW. I mean, I can see on the pay-per-view you having the Ring of Honor World Championship defend it.
Yeah.
But I really love the Ring of Honor guys, and I've watched more Ring of Honor since we've been on break. I've probably watched more Ring of Honor than I have AEW. Now, the one thing, Howie, you said about AEW, it has to stay free. It's still in its infancy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's still
Yeah.
growing. It's still finding its audience, and you know, it's got a hardcore loyal audience. Like I've been all AEW since the day it started, and have loved it. But even I waned a little bit when it got so big. One thing that they've done now is move so many people to ROH and move so many people off that main roster, you know, like the Dan Housings and stuff like that, that we haven't seen, that they've kind of pared it down a little bit. And I think that's helped them.
Yeah. It has. It definitely has, and you know, you give them an opportunity, but you can't have everybody on one roster. There's not enough time. There's not enough air time to get everybody on there, unless they continue to have run-ins for every match, which seems to be the case, and is a little annoying. Just to be honest, I mean, I am in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm close to James E. Cornette up here somewhere. So, you know, I may have a little bit of an attitude like him, but you know,
That's what's wrong with both of y'all. Y'all listen to Cornette's podcast too much.
No, I haven't said
yeah.
nothing negative about AEW, so don't even throw me
Well,
in on
no,
that.
Hey,
look,
hey,
Rocky's right. Rocky, and
hey,
that's the other thing. They are, somebody's gonna get killed on live TV because of the stupidity that they do.
well,
Yep.
I think that's where, if you haven't watched, and I haven't watched as much as normal, you now see kind of Moxley's little group taking over a lot of the TV, Marina Sherifa, um, you know, and then you see the little, you know, it's kind of.
You're talking about the worst professional wrestler in the world that we're making our centerpiece.
I'm not talking. I'm talking about John Mox. CM Punk's on the other show.
Oh no, we're not going there. There's not even a comparison.
I just think that it is better with some pared back. I'll put it this way: Will Ospreay and Ricochet is exactly what AEW needed if they want to do that. And it's risk reward. It's correct. And I feel watching Will Ospreay, watching Ricochet, I feel safe watching them perform those movements. I'm not sure I always felt safe with everybody there. Hey, we were just talking about him. We're gonna get him on the show one day. Not Camden Smith, but Ty Rose. We get Rose debuted. Hey, he goes on his honky tonkin' world tour. We'll get old Ty Rose on here.
Woo!
I don't know if y'all saw it last night or not, but it was Briscoe against Chris Jericho for the ROH title, a ladder match, tables match. I forgot what they actually called it. There were some high spots in there, but it was safe high spots. I would call it, and it was pretty enjoyable to watch. Just to be honest.
Yeah, Camden's talking about the NWA. I'm with you there, Camden. The NWA. Matter of fact, hey, why don't you show them what your Halloween costume is? There, Jeremy.
I can't show it on here, but let's see. Hang on right here. I think I've got it. Where is it? What did I do with it? So I don't know if we can make heads or tails out of it, but
I mean, MLW and NWA quietly is some of the best wrestling out there. And that's
yeah, Mance Warner. Light beers and lariats, baby. I'm gonna get in a fight. I'm gonna get knocked down. I'm gonna get back up. I'm gonna hit that pay window, and I'm gonna crack a light beer.
Sound like he started a little bit early tonight. Halloween came a little early in Louisville, Kentucky. Hey, are you staying at the Castle Cornet in the guest house?
Yeah, I actually am. Jim has let me use this extra room.
he's over.
No. Oh.
He's at Bowling Manor right now.
Hey, I could be like that fan he talked about a month or two ago that just showed up at his house. that didn't go well.
No, not at all. But we expect Cabana Man Dan on any minute. Randy, has he popped in yet?
No, he is not. I'm gonna check on him. Y'all go ahead.
So
Cabana Man Dan.
Rocky Shaw says Jeremy's at the Jabroni Inn.
That's it. Mark Place.
Jeremy, let me ask you a quick question while Randy's checking on Cabana Man Dan.
Let's go ahead and bring him in.
Is he available?
Look at that, everybody. The
Cabana Man Dan.
Hello.
Cabana Man Dan.
Cabana Man Dan, welcome to It's Still Real to Me. I'm your host, Howie. Down below me right now is Jeremy Johnson. And of course, you know the guy up above you, Randy Cunningham.
That's right.
Cabana Man, well, he's below you now. Randy's flipping, flopping. He's doing a Dusty Rhodes, flipping and flopping and everything else. Cabana Man, thank you for your time, man.
Oh, you're welcome. Sorry, I'm in my car. I didn't have a good background on StreamYard. Sometimes I like to put a island background if I'm on Zoom, but hey, it is what it is.
So let's get started real quick. I got a couple questions before I pass it over to the other guys. How did you get started in the business, man?
Well, back when me and Dirt were friends, back in the early 2000s. No, I got into wrestling in the backyard in like the Attitude Era, like 99, 2000. Me and some buddies went to a movie gallery video rental store, was looking at some wrestling tapes, and they said that there was a place to get trained just right up the road. And it was a promotion that was in the back of an antique store. And that's where I got my start, was in the back of an antique store, learning how to wrestle in a rickety ring in Center, Alabama.
Well, let me tell you something. I didn't realize you were that old to really realize that there were video stores that you could go rent stuff at.
Yeah.
So, hey, who did you kind of idolize when you was growing up watching wrestling?
Well, I had, I guess, strange taste in wrestling. But like any kid starting out, like in the 80s and 90s, I was a fan of the colorful wrestlers like Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, just guys like that. Tatanka was another one later on that I really liked. And then Repo Man, I like goofy gimmicks, just stuff that would just, I like the characters back then. But as I got into wrestling and got into training and studying matches, like Ricky Steamboat was a big one. A mix between both of those is like Shark Boy was a big influence on me because he could wrestle and he was a good character. I went to my first independent show because Shark Boy was there. And that night I decided that I wanted to get into wrestling and go from being a fan for all my life to actually trying to find a place to train.
Well, I'm fixing to turn it over to these other guys, but I'm going
Yeah.
to finish off by saying this. The first time I ever saw you wrestle was at the Cab Theater in Fort Payne with New
Sweet.
South. And when you came to the ring, I thought, my gosh, that's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat Jr. right there. I mean, you had the characteristics of him, the look and everything. And I'm like, did Steamboat have offspring somewhere else, other than Hawaii? So, man, I've watched you every time. Every time New South has been in Fort Payne, I've gone and I've watched. I've enjoyed every show that I've been to, and I guess you can say I'm kind of fanboying right now, being able to talk to you a little bit. So, let me turn it over to Randy and let him ask you a few questions.
Sure. I would like to say I love Fort Payne too. That back when we were running New South in Fort Payne, I was working up there a lot. It's kind of hard to find another place up there to run shows, but maybe in 2025 we might just shoot for the stars and try to do the Coliseum in Rainsville. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Hey, Cabana Man, I don't know if this was for you or for me, because we both wrecked this emotion out of this guy, but Kevin Ryan chimed in through Rocky Shaw and says he hates you. Now, I don't know if he hates you or hates me. So,
I'm gonna say maybe he hates you because I like Kevin. And as far as I know, he likes me. I mean, if he wants to talk big and bad on here, or maybe he's making, maybe Rocky Shaw's going into business for himself because, he's about that sometimes.
Yeah, instigator.
I got another comment I want to get you some reaction to. Living legend Pat Rose was on earlier.
Oh.
He said, Cabana Man Dan is one of my favorite wrestlers. What does that make you feel like when a legend, someone that was on the last battle, been in the WWE, been in the WCW, pays you that compliment?
I mean, honestly, I'm just shocked that Pat even knows who I am. We just kind of just ran into each other more recently at Primetime Wrestling and then with Forever Pro. I mean, for him to say that, and he's seen hundreds and thousands of wrestlers and been across the ring from, that many also, that just means a lot. I just try to do right by the tradition of pro wrestling. And it's nice to see legends like Pat acknowledge, somebody that's out there trying to do it like it used to be.
I want to ask you, Jeremy, I'll come to you after this one. The first time I saw you work, you and Kevin did work a great match in Forever Pro, and it was absolutely, great. And then I kind of figured out, hey, this guy, I want to know more about him. So I went back and I done some research, and I found a podcast on 83 Weeks where Eric Bischoff talks about you. And I'd just like to get what you thought about that. And I'd also like to get your opinion if Bischoff was still booking WCW. Do you think you would fit that cruiserweight division that they had in WCW back in the day?
I think I might have made a better Prince Iaukea than Prince Iaukea was. No, I'm just kidding. He's awesome too. I'm just saying that I would have been a perfect fit in WCW because during that time, right before that was when I was watching WCW for the cruiserweights as I was watching that and then going to Backyard Wrestling. I mean, that had a lot of influence on me later on in my career too. So, that's just surreal that Eric Bischoff would say that. I've been very fortunate in wrestling to have very unique opportunities for somebody that's just only been on the independent level and never had that TV opportunity. I've had a lot of cool things happen, just from grinding, respecting the business and just trying to be a nice guy, trying to do things right.
Hey, and we appreciate you coming here. You treated us great. And I'm sorry Kevin Ryan hates me so bad he's taking it out towards you, but that's just Kevin. He don't understand. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Hey, Cabana Man. Hey, the only thing I hate about Randall right now is his hat. That's the only thing I hate. That's the only thing I hate right now. But that one's a little better. I can live with that.
I'll watch one Alabama game this season, and it's the Tennessee game. And my gosh.
So it was your fault. It was
my fault. I'm so sorry.
No, hey, so the first time I saw you wrestle was actually early this year for Pro South, and you guys did a benefit at in Rosalie, Alabama, up on Sand Mountain at the Rosalie Middle School gym, and it was packed in there for that size little gymnasium. But great match. That was just a really great event. I brought I've got a 3-year-old granddaughter, and I brought her, and she loved it. She wanted to clap and do all this. I couldn't get her to boo the bad guys, though. So I couldn't get her to boo the heels. So she may end up being a heel later on. But I guess the question I have, one of them anyway, is when you started training, you mentioned there was a training academy there in the center, which is not far. I lived in Fife, Alabama. I don't know if you know where that is. Close to Fort Payne.
Yep.
But how long did you train before you had your first official match?
Not long enough. I was really, really not ready to be out having live matches in front of people. But, it was already a thin roster. We knew how to fall down. I mean, I guess it was pretty much on the job training, is getting that experience, just getting, getting beat up every week by our trainer and, the trainer's helpers and stuff. Because I was with a guy named Chief Littleland was my first original trainer, and he's from the Georgia area. And then, it was just wild. Like, I think it was only to answer to, build you a watch when you asked me what time it is. I think I was only training for like 2 months, like every Saturday for about 2 months.
Yeah. So where was your first match and who's your opponent?
It was in Center, Alabama, in the back of that antique store for Wrestling Christian Fellowship. And I believe it was February 2002. I started training in October. That was the first time I got in the ring. But it was me and my tag team partner. He was called I don't know if this is going to be a politically correct gimmick anymore, but he was the Lethal Rapper, Steve Blackman. So it was a really bad parody of the Lethal Weapon, Steve Blackman. But anyways, he was just a white guy that was a rapper. So it was me and him versus Chief Little Lynn and one of the Double Trouble twins, Brad or Chad. I don't remember which one because they were identical twins. And then that was our first match in front of. We had a bunch of people from high school come and watch. It was really cool.
Awesome. I think I have one. I guess you talked about who your kind of the wrestlers that you followed early when you were watching wrestling. So who was your favorite? Who was the person that you saw and you go, I want to do that. I want to be a wrestler and I want to be like that. I know you mentioned Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, but was there any other influence?
Yeah, I mean, wrestling's got all sorts of styles and stuff, and I enjoyed it. But the very first time I went to that indie show, I wanted to go meet Sharp Boy. But the actual match that made me want to go from a backyard wrestler to actually wrestling in front of people in an actual ring and not a trampoline was the Amazing Red versus Lightning Mike Quackenbush as part of the Jersey J Cup tournament in 2001. That was just an incredible couple of guys.
Yeah, Amazing Red was definitely amazing and very underrated.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, hey, look, I could ask a ton of other things, but I don't want to monopolize all the time from these guys.
Hey, Randy, if you will, put that back up that Pat Rose said. He said that Cabana Man and Dan, that you work hard and matches are great.
Thank you, Pat. I will buy your book.
We were going to make his head even bigger than it was. So
hey, we weren't going to read that one, Randall. Thanks.
So Cabana Man, the first time I saw you, like I said, was at the New South there in Fort Payne. You didn't have the long hair, you didn't have the beard. What made you change your appearance?
So for the longest time, I had that clean cut, short hair look because I was working in corporate America as a salesman and all that fun stuff. And I was always this happy go lucky, master of the flip flop shop, smiling, lighthearted, good guy. And all that was well and good, but I was at a time where, it's like what I'm doing is working for me great at New South. It's working for me wherever I was wrestling at in that area, Action and Southern Underground Pro in Nashville. But then COVID hit. I lost my job from the sales position just because restaurants weren't open anymore. And I always told myself, if I get out of a position where I can actually grow my hair back out, I'm going to grow my hair back out. And then there's just a lot of things going on. It's like I looked in the mirror. I was like, I'm doing good. I look good for here. But what's keeping me from that perceived next level? I was like, well, I need to be a little bit more serious. After talking with a lot of people I respect in the business, like, everybody knows you can do anything you want and you're great at comedy, but we want to see a more serious side and kind of see how that goes. And there were some changes with some promotions that I was working for. I was like, well, I was doing my thing there. Let's change it up a bit. Let's go a little bit more serious. Let's go from the master of the flip flop chop to the castaway. I wanted to get a mentality of, I want to wrestle like a survivalist, where if an opponent gives me any opportunity, I'm going to use my experience to get out of it or to catch them in something. And I just wanted to just flip the script. I wanted to literally take my old character, rip it up, and sew it back together with a more savage undertone and a more serious look. And that's whenever I got the new gear that had like Hawaiian prints kind of stitched in it, but it was mostly stuff that you would see on an island. Like even the knee pads looked like they were made out of coconut shells. So I just wanted a harder edge to the things I was already doing for the longest time. And I weighed in about my heaviest too was like 165. And during that time, I went on keto. I was super serious about my nutrition and working out even more. And my cardio, I ended up going down to 135 at my lowest, up to about 140, where it was kind of like I could move really well. I looked really good. I had abs, all that stuff. It's miserable. But that's when I just decided, and that's when things really started taking off. And I was, since then I've wrestled in 17 states, ranked in the PWI 500 2 times, topping out at 267, and just being busy somewhere every week. And that's tough when you were like 35 at the time. I mean, with a wife and kid. And that's like kind of on the older side of a wrestler grinding it out in the indies like that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm over
Us,
all that.
yeah, we all three of us down here, the people on the show here, we've got abs, but underneath a bunch of fat. So
Dan, if you ever want to learn how to be 330, give me a shout. I can help you with that.
Oh, well.
He'll give you personal training for free.
My next question is going to be probably you'll probably think is kind of silly or stupid, but the next question is, how many flip flops have you gone through?
Well, the ones that I have now, I've only gone through. I had one. Whenever I changed to the Castaway, I've had one pair for the longest, and they were like kind of leather and very hard. So I wasn't really throwing a lot of flip flops as the Castaway. But now that I've kind of gone back and forth between the Castaway and still some lighthearted stuff, I switched to a lighter weight one. So that's 2 pairs. But before that, especially when Hobby Lobby was my go-to place to get my flip-flops for flip-flop chops, because they were the foam ones. They were thick, but they were flimsy at the same time, and they would really last, and they made the best freaking sounds. Like I called them, that's where I get my working flops, is at Hobby Lobby. So like Dollar Tree, and when Old Navy does their 99-cent flip-flops, they just don't match the Hobby Lobby ones. And I mean, I've probably had 50 something pairs of flip-flops. Like they'll just wear out or I'll lose them. I've lost more than any of them, but how I recouped them is at New South. I had a fans bring the weapons match, and I got a bunch of people to bring flip flops to the matches, and because what I wanted is after I make some sort of comeback or whatever, I pose to the crowd. I wanted an ECW moment, but instead of chairs raining into the ring, I wanted flip flops raining into the ring, and it was probably as many flip flops as chairs. It just didn't look like it because flip flops are small.
I remember when I saw you one of the matches there, Fort Payne. You brought a stand out with flip flops on it, and do you still have that stand that you put the flip flops on?
No, we threw somebody through it.
Of course.
Back in that time, I was actually running a beef jerky distribution company, really small. So I'd have a bunch of racks, and I would host the flip flop shop. And more times than not, somebody got thrown through the rack. And I believe that time James Hardy got thrown through it, because I think in the middle of that, we might have been doing the fake Cabana Man Dan angle with Rolando Perez as the fake Cabana Man Dan.
Absolutely. Let's talk about one of your tag team partners real quick that I saw you wrestle. I think I saw you wrestle with them and against them. Dump.
Mm-hmm.
Big. I mean, it's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde, I guess you can say. A big guy with the little guy, the quick and speedy guy with the big guy and all that. How was it teaming with him and then going against him as well?
Oh, I mean, we were the very first inaugural New South Tag Team Champions, me and Dump. I mean, I owe Dump Sanders a lot. Like, I would have not come back into wrestling without Dump and New South. Like, I took time off in 2010, and I had zero plans on ever coming back. I had a neck issue bothering me. I had nerve issues in my arm, which they got better. I just wasn't coming back to wrestling. And then New South started up, and I was like, man, they're doing something. They're doing something really good. And this is like 2015 into 2016, and he invited me to come to the show, be a commentator, just hang out backstage, just hang out. We've been friends since 2003. And then I got back into the ring because somebody canceled. They needed somebody to wrestle that weekend. And he was like, hey, you can do it. I was like, okay. So we started tagging up, and, we have really good, I mean, a big guy and little guy always makes a good tag team because it's a clash of style. And the big guy can throw the little guy on somebody, or you can get on the guy's back, and we could splash somebody in the corner with a backpack splash. And we have really fun matches, really good chemistry, together. I mean, we've had a ton of tag matches. New South, we're also Pro South Tag Team Champions for a minute too in Piedmont, and he had won an opportunity. I believe he might have won the Winter Wars Rumble. I might be wrong. I might be right. I don't remember. I've been hitting the head too much. But we actually wrestled each other at We Love Pro Wrestling 2019 in a good guy versus good guy main event, and I thought that match was really damn good. And I won the match with a superplex, like Barry Windham. So
wow,
so
impressive.
That was wild. Yeah. So that was really cool. I was proud as hell of Dump for that match that we had together. It was very nerve-wracking trying to wrestle your former tag team partner, or your actual tag team partner. There's no former. We've never broken up before, but having to kind of fire him up a little bit, it was something cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And every time, like I said, every time I saw you wrestle, enjoyed every match that I've ever saw you wrestle in, and you put on a great show, and if I am mistaken, you do it barefooted. I have no idea how you do that stuff barefooted. So
I don't see how people wrestle with boots on. So because I did that starting out. No, I was terrible. I was tripping all over my feet and everything. I didn't stop wearing boots until I snapped my shoelaces backstage, and Mad Dog Dan Sawyer said, "You're an Islander, just wrestle barefoot tonight." And then I never went back.
Wow. Randy, what you got for the man?
Hey, I want to ask you before we get off the Dump question real fast. What is the visual? I've seen you together. How does that visual play to the crowd of him and you? Because I don't know how tall he is, but he's a big boy.
I believe he's about 6'4" to 6'5", something like that. And I don't know if you follow him on Facebook, but he has been on a huge weight loss journey
Yeah.
for the past year and a half, and I think he's lost almost as much as I weigh. So
Yeah. Yeah, he's shrinking. I've been following him. He's shrinking.
I mean, he wears baggy clothes and all that when he wrestles, so you don't really notice. When I notice, especially for me, is when I get on his back for the backpack splash, I have nothing to grab onto anymore. I have to like choke him by the neck and like just hang on. Like it's just a smaller base for me to hold on to, and it hurts more when I get squished in the corner because he's not as cushioned as he used to be. So I'm proud of him. That weight loss like that's not easy.
Who are some of your favorite opponents? I know old Rocky Shaw says that he made you relevant. Were you ever in the ring with Rocky?
No. I'm trying to think if we have been, but I doubt it. I mean, like, not even in a battle royal setting. I don't know. He just likes to, I guess, nip at the heels of CMD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who are some of your favorite opponents then over the years?
Well, I mean, some of them that come to mind, whether it's favorite or we just wind up working each other a lot. Donnie Primetime, we've wrestled each other a lot. Me and Adam Priest have probably worked every Mike Jackson town against each other in Alabama at a school show. Derek Neal, though, is by far like the top of the mountain as far as my favorite opponents, because he makes every opponent have to dig deep and make them wonder in a match, do I really want this shit that bad? And he really brings it out of everybody he ever wrestles. Like, you wrestle Derek Neal, you level up every single time. And we've wrestled like 7 or 8 times. Like, we had a really great program at New South where we took it all over Alabama and into Tampa, WrestleMania week, to where PWI made that a blurb in one of our bios for the 500 is, this notable feud with Cabana Man Dan and Derek Neal in the Southeast has been really strong.
Nice.
And one of our matches was actually picked up by a WWE talent scout, and they just wanted to comment about how good it was, and ask me some information about me, and my strengths was my age and height. So, but just the fact that you never know who's watching what you do, and that means a lot. But no, Derek Neal for sure is a top opponent. Alec Price is a good opponent that I had. He really like pushed me to the limit. Tony Deppen, Blake Christian. I mean, just the list goes on. Like, I have a list on my phone of just notable opponents, and it's like 100 deep of just like people who either legends or on WWE now or AEW now. I'll have to send it to Randall and he share it with you, but it's an insane list from like Samoa Joe to Scott Steiner. It's crazy.
That is kind of crazy. Tell me a little bit about what's going on with New South. I keep seeing, kind of mega shows. You've got something coming up that looks like a 2-night event that's going to be huge. In Heflin, Alabama, and I believe Gadsden for those a Halloween type show, or what is it?
Well, it's WrestleMania weekend. We had an opportunity to where we have our annual Cleveland County High School fundraiser on the Saturday, and the New South team, Dump, Brandon Williams, Donnie Primetime, and I were like, especially Dump, they always want to do like a cool weekend, and it's like, what's a good show theme that would be fun to go along with wrestling? It's like, well, Halloween, WrestleMania, that's a fun one. Well, we were originally going to do WrestleMania either Friday or Sunday in Scottsboro at the Friendship Lodge, but with new presidents over there and this, that, and the other, they need to go back to being a private club versus letting the public back in for the ABC board type stuff. We stopped running there. It's like, well, we still want to do a weekend of 2 shows with WrestleMania. It's like, well, let's do it in Gadsden. We can do Gadsden and Heflin. They're not too far apart, and they're only about an hour and change away. So we really just want to try to do 2 mega shows back to back and see what we can do with it. And Heflin always comes out big. I think it's going to be the biggest one that we've done there because coaches are running ads and promos on their morning news. We got one coach putting his coaching and teaching career on the line versus negatively in his hair. And then Coach Lacey was originally going to get a New South championship match, but unfortunately Tyler Franks had that severe elbow dislocation, and now he's teaming with the Dumpster Divers versus Saul Wright, Bobcat, and Jake Franklin. So that's going to be huge on Saturday. And then the main event is going to be Donnie Primetime and Tony Evans in an I Quit match. But on Friday, in my continental hometown in Gadsden, Alabama, at the Gadsden Mall, the Spartan Wrestling Arena, which is an academy for wrestling to get trained, and they run a Spartan wrestling show once a month. We've partnered with them about running once every month or so. So we wanted to do something special for this. And for the first time in at least 10 years, referee Adam Hunter, who started off with me in center as the new sensation, is wrestling. Ref Adam is wrestling Tony Evans on night 1 in the main event. So Superior Tony Evans is a big bully, big guy from OVW, and he's been putting his hands on Adam multiple times, and Adam struck him back and challenged him to a match. So that's the big main event of Friday. So we got an NWA Women's Championship match on Friday with Kenzie Page versus Echo Ridge, who just debuted on TNA. So this is like a TNA NWA match. So that's pretty wild. Dumpster Divers versus the Blockbusters, a hot UK team. Donnie Primetime versus Mad Dog Conley. I mean, holy crap. That's a huge match. So, I mean, it's stacks on stacks this weekend. It's gonna be a ball.
We have run some ads for it on RiverCity-Media, and it was the first appearance of New South. And I think the number one question I got is, where's New South at that I can see them locally? I know you're in Gadsden and stuff. You were in Scottsboro, trying to get back more in that North Alabama area. If someone has a venue, would you want who should they contact?
I mean, just Dump Sanders, myself, hit up any of the New South pages on social media, whether it's Facebook, X, Instagram. We all monitor those together. So that's the best way to get in touch with somebody that makes decisions, really.
And go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, I work. You mentioned the Friendship Lodge, and I work for Coca-Cola, and I worked out of the facility right up the highway there for 20 years, and so I know some folks at Scottsboro. So it'd be kind of cool to have a home or a temporary home to put together some events there in Jackson County for sure.
Oh yeah, I think it wasn't a goodbye, but we'll see you down the road kind of deal with Scottsboro, because I mean there was another place that they were running shows at, but they kind of got sold. So we're always trying to get back into Scottsboro because we have fans in the Scottsboro and DeKalb County areas. It's just not a lot of places to do business up there. Mm-hmm. And if the opportunity is right, if it makes sense financially, we'll definitely be back. So if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody in the Scottsboro area, I mean, heck, we'll set up at Section High School and run a show. Who cares? So it don't matter. It'll be good.
I actually do know the head basketball coach there at Section High School. So I mean, who knows?
Hey, springtime is going to be wide open for New South. That's why we haven't pursued trying to find somewhere new in Scottsboro yet, because we're just booked up until the end of the year. We had the huge weekend Friday and Saturday at Comic-Con in Huntsville. We got Gadsden now. We got Heflin. We had Florence, and Priceville is November 2nd. So we don't have a shortage of towns that we have to commit to. So I mean, I just say that 2025 is going to be a very big year for New South. We've got a lot of irons in the fire for next year. We've got a stellar team right now of people behind the scenes all working together.
Go ahead, Jeremy. You actually went on the question I was going to answer. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Well, I mean, for me, I'm just kind of shifting gears a little bit, and you're talking about your opponents and stuff. I know that it doesn't matter really the field, even the things I do and stuff. There's times where you feel a little bit more pressure to perform or to be at your best. Can you tell me a time when you really, it's like somebody's watching that I need to impress, or it's a big opportunity? Can you tell me about a match that you had where you really felt the pressure, but everything turned out okay?
Well, I mean, there's two occasions, like when you're saying you don't know who's watching. WrestleMania week, especially like a few years ago when IWTV had the collective with Game Changer Wrestling, they were still working together. You don't know who's watching, and like the very first, like that was like something that people was striving to get on, is something cool for WrestleMania week. And the first time I got to do an actual announced WrestleMania week match was for Southern Underground Pro. It was myself, Mr. Brixer, O'Shea Edwards versus Violence is Forever, Kevin Koo, Dom Guarini, and Brett Eisen. And this was like still short haircut, clean cut Cabana Man Dan. But it's like I was trying to get a WrestleMania booking for a little while. I heard about it, but it was so new to me, just being from another era in wrestling, that indie shows didn't happen during WrestleMania week when I first started. So that was a really big deal. I mean, that was really cool. And I got to showcase my stuff in front of, a lot of people online and really look crisp. And a lot of people are like, holy, Cabana Man Dan's still around? That guy's crazy, or that's crazy that he's still around. So that was one of them. But the New South Championship match on the family reunion in 2021, because they didn't do 2020 because of COVID, right? So 2021, New South is given a match at family reunion, and it's Derek Neal holding the belt versus Cabana Man Dan in Tampa. And, I was at my leanest and my meanest, full castaway gimmick, full everything, brand new gear, abs. I went out there to get a job. I went out there to do the best I humanly could against the best in Derek Neal. And, we just went out there and killed it. Like, I wrestled like I wanted to be on TV. So that's how we performed that day. And
wow.
I'll always cherish that match.
Awesome. I've got one more question, and I have a coworker that is a professional wrestler, and he out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and his name is Warren Hullander, otherwise known as Tank. Have you ever had a match with Tank?
I have not.
You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've known Tank a long time. It's just sometimes you'll be in locker rooms with people for years and years, and you just, that opportunity never comes up to wrestle somebody like that. It just, it's just a lot of it's about timing, and it wasn't the right time.
What's interesting with him right now is he works as a quality. I think he's in quality control in his part-time job. He's been really busy here lately. I was just curious if you'd cross paths with Tank in your career.
Never have. I mean, other than sharing locker rooms with him, it's just always been nice to me. I know he can be mean out there in the ring, but he's always been cool with me.
That's all that matters, right?
And that's fine with me.
So, Cabana Man, if you could have your dream match with someone, who would it be with?
Oh gosh,
Great question.
That's always a hard one, because I've been able to wrestle a lot of my dream matches, and I mean, I don't know. You get in it for so long, you wrestle all the people you wanted to wrestle. It's like you have to ask other people, well, who do you want me to wrestle? I mean, as far as probably one that would be really cool at this point would be a match with Jonathan Gresham. If this was like maybe 4 years ago, oh, that would be killer. I mean, it'd still be good now, but back then I was on another level.
That's nice. That's really
That'd
nice
be a good
right
one.
there. We appreciate you being on the show. We'll finish up real quick, wrap up real quick, let you get going. Appreciate your time tonight, and
Make sure he comes back. We got to get him back sometime. Maybe this winter or sometime when he gets into the.
Oh yeah, I'm always a two-parter because when you wrestle for 20-something years, you got a lot to say.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't even touched on all the weird, wacky stuff I've been a part of. So,
well, I hadn't asked all the weird, wacky questions yet, so there we go. We want a verbal commitment at this moment. Cabana Man Dan, will you come back to the show?
yes.
I see that look in his eye. He's coming back.
Hey, I got some diet and training tips to give him next time he's on too.
Hey, look, I put on about 40 pounds taking Randall's advice. I'm not so sure.
I mean, he's helped you bulk up, so I get it.
I did need to, about 145 when I started. So
It's I want to ask one more before I forget. The
Sure.
stiffest wrestler you've gone against.
ooh.
Probably
Yeah.
Gary J. If you know who Gary J is, he's a Midwest guy. Stiff Robo Ginger is his nickname. Man, that guy hits hard. Yeah, I got knocked out in that match too. So, yep.
Oh.
Oh, really? Seriously?
Yeah, I did. It sucked. And it's, double stomps to the back of your head kind of tend to knock people out. So,
Yeah, I would say so.
yeah, I would say him. I'm trying to think of some other people like Richard Holiday can bring it, but I don't know if that's because he's probably legally blind. So
Stan Hansen.
He probably didn't
Stan
mean to, but
Hansen.
I was getting lit up when we worked, but this was years ago. He's a fan, and he's Richard Holiday is a fantastic wrestler. So we're lucky to have him when he comes down to New South too.
Last question for me, then we'll send it to Randy and Jeremy. Let them ask last ones, and we'll let you get out here. The last question for me is, in the history of wrestling, if you could have one manager, who would you want?
One manager. I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about the Cabana Man Dan character, it's got to be like Captain Lou Albano. I mean, that just makes sense.
It makes sense.
He attended the University of Tennessee, by the way, if everybody don't know. So.
There we go. There we go. See, I know they would get a rise out of Randall then.
I mean, if we could get Randall to put some rubber bands on his cheek, I mean, we could pull that off.
Keep bulking up, and then put some rubber bands in your cheek, and then you can be my man and get work a tan.
When I take my partial out, I look more like Jericho's personal security than I do.
Oh my gosh.
Randy, you got anything?
No, man. I just want to thank you, sir, for coming on and giving us your time. And not only are you on New South, you do several other shows. So everybody always look in your social media. You never know where you might see Dan at along the way.
Absolutely. Jeremy, any last remarks?
Hey, so you mentioned social media, Randall, and I know we got people listening that will be listening. Tell us where we can find you on social media.
I mean, if you look up Cabana Man Dan on anything, just about, you'll find me somewhere. Facebook and X is both Cabana Man Dan. Instagram is cabana.man.dan. But I'm active more on Facebook and X these days. I got too much going on, so I had to limit some of my social media things. But Instagram's good, X is good, and Facebook's good. Or come see me at a show.
Awesome.
Definitely. I appreciate it.
Yeah, before we get going, go ahead and plug the shows that you got going on this weekend, if you will.
Yeah, sure. Friday night, tomorrow, I'll be at the Gadsden Mall for WrestleMania Night 1. And then Saturday, Heflin, Alabama, Cleveland County High School at the Cecil Gymnasium, WrestleMania Night 2. And then November 2nd in Priceville / Decatur, Alabama, we will be challenging, you heard it here first maybe, Dump Sanders and I will be challenging the New South Tag Team Champions, TNT, to their tag team titles in Priceville. And we'll be back in Gadsden November 16th at the mall. We got Huntsville, Alabama, December 14th for Winter Wars Rumble at the VBC, Von Braun Center, at the Flip Trade Show. That's going to be huge. And then we got the Dump Sanders Holiday Special back in Gadsden December 21st. And then I might pick up some stuff. I know I'll probably be at Forever Pro, one of these shows coming up. And just hanging out with my family in between working all day.
We need to get the show down to one of those New South shows, and either Huntsville or Gadsden. So
sure,
we would love that. So guys, we got to plan that out somewhere too.
On the bell time, can we make a assumption that all the bell times are at 7 o'clock?
Why?
I don't know. Just let people know what time to be there.
Oh, 7:30.
7:30.
So doors open at 6:30 and show starts at 7:30. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking about the bell time as far as
7:30. Most times it's 7:30 unless otherwise noted at New South shows.
Hey, toughest opponent was the New China Buffet over on Hickson Pike in Chattanooga. It about took me out.
I can see that.
Cabana Dan, would you like to give any shout outs before we get out of here?
Shout out to referee Adam Hunter. I love you, brother. I'm so glad that New South is a place where we can have you lace up the boots possibly for the last time. I've helped, I was in the ring with him Tuesday night. He's just as good now as he ever was when he wrestled with me back in the day. And I'm just proud of him, man. He's just really turned a lot of things around in his life and is really killing it in wrestling as a referee. He is the busiest and best referee that's like Alabama based. And he's out there hopping in cars to Houston for CZW. He'll go to MLW in Atlanta to set up the ring, and then he'll do shots in Mobile for Diamond Championship Wrestling for Scott Armstrong. So my shout out will go to Adam Hunter, and I wish him luck. He's got a lot of folks coming out to see him. He's personally sold 35 tickets to the show Friday, and that's huge for indie wrestling for somebody to draw that kind of money, those kind of fans out. So I'm really proud of Adam, and I really hope he has. I mean, I almost hope that the match goes better than he does, probably, because I just want to see it. So it's one of those matches where I'm going to be out in the crowd as a fan to watch.
So no run-ins or anything about it.
No, I not for me. He's on his own. I'm eating popcorn and Alabama Pizza Company. So good luck. I hope you Tuesday. That's about all I got.
Good deal. Hey, Cabana Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show. We will have you back on if you'll be willing to join us, but we do have a verbal commitment from you anyway. So I don't know if it'll hold up in court or not, but hey, we got
I think it would. I mean, you got me on camera.
I mean, we could get you in a ring with Randall, and then, and he could get it out of you. So
no wait, I ain't like Dump.
So thanks again for joining us tonight, everybody that watched, for Rocky Shaw and for Pat Rose for making a lot of comments. So for our special guest, Mr. PWI top 500 wrestler, what number was you, Cabana Man?
Again,
267, and like the very first year was like 400, like high 400s, but then the next year was 267, and they had a huge picture of me and looking jacked. So I was pretty excited about that.
Sweet. So
Great.
PWI number 267 joining us tonight. Special guest tonight, Cabana Dan.
Yay.
So for Cabana Dan, for Jeremy Johnson, Randall Cunningham, I'm Howard Chaney. This is still real to me. Good night. God bless everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.